An Asian woman was hit over the head with a hammer over the weekend in New York, and the attacker remains at large. The incident occurred at around 8:40 p.m. on Sunday the 2nd of May, along 411 West 42nd Street, near 9th Avenue in Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. A 31-year-old woman and a 29-year-old friend were walking to a subway together and were in front of the building down a sidewalk when they noticed a woman ahead of them talking to herself while staring at a wall. The woman looked to be quite agitated and seemed to be drunk or high on drugs, so they both made a decision to pass the woman quickly. As they walked past her, she noticed them and she started trailing behind them. She begins screaming and hurling abuse at the Asian pair, demanding they take their masks off. The attacker then starts swinging a hammer and strikes the 31-year-old woman in the head multiple times while yelling at her. The 29-year-old woman intervenes when the suspect attempts to strike her several times as the two try to defend themselves. The 31-year-old woman and the attacker got into a tussle, but managed to grab the hammer off the assailant, who dropped her wig and had her shoes come off during the struggle. As the woman began to walk away, the pair exchange words and the suspect then returns to collect her wig and put her shoes back on. She then hurls further abuse at the pair before eventually leaving the scene. The traumatized 31-year-old woman, who only identified herself as Teresa, had recently come back from visiting her family in Taiwan during the pandemic. She was transported by ambulance to a local hospital and received 7 stitches from lacerations sustained to the front and side of her head and remains in a stable condition. She said her mum warned her to please be careful. There's a lot of Asian crime happening in America. She said she'll be returning back to Taiwan for the time being. The New York Police Department Hate Crimes Task Force are continuing to investigate the attack, as the woman is wanted by the authorities. A 28-year-old Fernwood man has been arrested for attacking another man and then turning on his wife when she came to his aid. The incident occurred on Saturday the 1st of May in the 10,500 block of South Emerald Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. A man was cleaning the alley with a shovel behind his mother-in-law's home when Elijah Rulhill Prince asked him to buy something. When the man refused, Elijah put the man in a chokehold and hit him over the head with his own shovel. He then punched the man, gouged his eyes with his fingers, and bit his ears and the top of his head. He then spat into his mouth and shoved a 3-inch block of wood that resembled a doorstop into his eye. When the man's wife heard the commotion, she came out to help her husband, who was also attacked by Elijah. Elijah then bit her ears and ripped out huge chunks from them. He gouged her eyes, pulled out her hair, spat on her, and knocked her to the ground. He then kicked her in the head repeatedly. The woman's husband called 911 after he pulled the wooden block out of his eye. Elijah then ran off after a witness came outside and yelled at him. When the police arrived, they found bits of the couple's ears in the alley. They couldn't be surgically reattached. The woman lacked part of her ears, had 2 black eyes, bruises on her face and head, and lacerations. Her husband suffered from orbital fractures, head cuts and facial abrasions. He also lost some of his ears and is suffering from visual impairment. Elijah was arrested nearby a short time later, and his mouth, face and elbows of his jacket were covered in blood. When he was questioned about whose blood it was that he was covered in, he replied that it was blood of peasants. After listening to the allegations against Elijah, Judge Like said he thought he was listening to a horror movie. The couple were hospitalized in a serious condition. Elijah underwent a psychiatric evaluation at a hospital and wasn't present during his bond hearing on Tuesday. He's been charged with aggravated battery and attempted murder charges on a $5 million bond. His next court appearance is for the 10th of May.